All right, welcome to our first, what we call our hometown hockey roundtable, to chat about local level hockey in the Carolinas. And we're happy to welcome our first two guests, our inaugural guest, which we hope will have one of many. And we hope you guys come back if we don't scare you off too much or too early to the segment. These two guys come to us from the local Junior Hurricanes junior program, which has grown, and we'll talk about that as we go forward, but has grown significantly in the last handful of years. So we got Kevin St. Jacques with us, and also Brad Gaylord. So, guys, we'd like to welcome you to the program.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having us.
So I think just to give you guys some perspective on what we're trying to do here, and Brad, I've known you for quite a number of years now, and Kevin, not so many. Seen you on the periphery, so I know, but know you from coaching and calling games against you, which was always never fun. So, but glad to have you on this side of the world. So what we're trying to do is just get a kind of reach out, give some parents, players, and others a perspective on something other than the big clubs that are out there, because there's a litany of discussion out there with the bigger clubs and how they're doing, and that's what we're doing that as well, but we like to really dive into the local level and what really supports the growth of the big clubs in these areas, is the youth programs, is the amateur programs, and how to continue to develop that in the Carolinas, which is, I've seen over the years that I've been here, both Cameron and Kyle have played in this program, is taken an infinite steps I think in the right direction. So I think if that's okay with you guys, we'll kind of launch right into, we got a handful of questions and topics that we want to talk about, and we'll kind of let you guys navigate your way through the Q&A, very informal. So if you have anything that you want to bring up, feel free. And but we do want to try to, we know your time is valuable, so we want to make sure we don't get too crazy, because Cam and Kyle and I could sit here and talk hockey for hours, and we don't want to kind of tie up too much of your evening. So I think we'll just launch right into it, and get your perspectives on we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in this area from the standpoint of youth hockey and the implementation of the junior programs and how those have taken off. And we've brought in championships to the state of North Carolina at those levels. So what's the next step for growth in this area? And what is the next, phase of where you guys see both the youth and the junior side going forward in this area?
Yeah, for me, it's a great question. There's not much that's needed to be reinvent the wheel here. With the NHL and our youth program, it's pretty strong. The youth programs that we have and the teams that we have, the amount of youth programs in the area is remarkable. So as they get older and they grow, hopefully we can teach them to go the junior path, or talk to them to see what path fits them. That's soon to be found. But I mean, in terms of the area right now, it's really strong. It's really healthy. I don't think there's anything that needs to be fixed per se. Obviously the NHL helps; they're heavily involved, and to me, I think it's really, really healthy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the NHL does a great job in the area, and that's first and foremost, because if they're not successful as a program, then kids aren't watching, parents aren't bringing their kids to games. So I think obviously the Caniacs, introducing them as fans and getting all of the things that they've started to do after games with doing some unorthodox stuff, but it makes the people feel like they're a part of it. And now it's like one big family, right? So I think you're seeing more people are moving to the area from up north. So you're getting people who maybe are already into hockey from up New York, Connecticut, the Boston, Massachusetts area. And now it's just more people are coming here. And I think hockey, like Brad said, you don't have to reinvent anything. I think you just got to continue to do the right things and continue to show interest in, whether it's the, what do you call it, the beginning levels, doing things for all ages and all skill sets of players.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, what Kevin said about, how they're involved with the community, they really are. But we see it every day with our facility. We are at the same facility as the NHL's practice facility, and there's probably 200 to 300 fans just watching them practice. So, and a lot of them are very young. So those people have children and they see hockey, they love hockey, and they promote their kids to play hockey. And it's just a, repetitive cycle and get, younger guys into the game or girls into the game.
This is probably a loaded question, but the new facility for sure is by far state of the art from a practice facility perspective, from where they were. But from your perspective, I know that has to make recruiting a little bit easier from your standpoint. When you get a family or a player that comes in and sees those facilities that they're going to be in and day out. I mean, would that be a fair statement?
You're 100% accurate. I mean, we send the videos of our locker room, our facility, and the arena itself and the surrounding area. And Kevin will attest to it. Every time we send a text to a recruit, they just respond, "Wow." They literally, I can show you proof of it. It does help, no question about it. When you have a facility that's brand new, and then you have the NHL that you get to watch every day, it sells itself really, because these kids love it. They get their, especially Premier, their schedule. They work out in the morning, right, and they get there and they have their lunch. They watch the NHL team, and then right after that, we go to work. We go to our practice, so they love it. It's a helpful recruiting tool, I'll say.
Yeah, and then the other kicker to it is everybody that we play against, they get to come to our facility, and so if we're successful as far as the way that we play, the way that we coach, we've had players come from us for trades, and they're not treated like we treat our players. They don't have a facility that our players have. They don't have a training facility as far as our trainers and, everything. I think we're the only tier 3 team that has a doctor that's sewing guys up right on, right behind the bench during games. So, we try to do things the right way. And I think people see that. And, once they have a bad experience, they're looking for something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we try to make it a very, as close as tier 2, if not tier 2 experience, even though it's tier 3.
Yeah. So let's piggyback on that, Kevin. How does that work from a trade perspective? I mean, this is a pay to play league, and obviously there's some monetary things that go along with these kind of programs. I mean, how does a team, like say for instance, a team guy on your squad or somebody else wants to come play here, your guy wants to go play somewhere else. How does that work?
Well, it's a tough situation because obviously, we have a lot of local kids in our program. So, obviously you can't trade local kids. It wouldn't do us any good as far as, hey, come be a part of our program, but you might get traded. It's just so, we really take care of the local kids here because, we figure that our youth program is developing them. But players that are outside of the area, there's teams where they might live or, they got friends. And, once you have a player that wants to come here or wants to leave here, it all boils down to, because it is pay to play, like how much money is owed, how much money has been paid in from both sides. And then, because it's a business, that has to be ironed out first.
Right. Our goal here is to try to get to the youth player and to give them some insight on what goes on in the mind of a junior coach. Because I think one of Kyle's questions, and I think it's a question that a lot of kids ask themselves is, what are the do's and don'ts when it comes to Like if you're a scouted player that's going to a tryout, I mean, what do you do? What do you don't do? I mean, and I know you guys, it's all sort of situational, what you're looking for on your roster and things of that nature. But even a kid coming in that's a scouted kid that you guys seen tape on, and all of a sudden he comes in to tryout and he does this, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that on the tape. So are there anything that kind of jump off the tape for you that say guys, don't do this, but do this. This is something I don't see enough of, and kids don't recognize it because they think I scored 4 goals, I should make the team, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really good question, but it's actually a very simple answer. When you're recruited or not recruited, any tryout that you go to, there's a lot of people watching. We all know that, okay? But when you try to do too much, that's going to hurt you. You have to self-recognize and understand what type of player you are and play that type of role. Okay, don't try to go outside the box and try to play a finesse game when you're not a finesse player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or if you're a pound and sound, heavy game, pounding people. I mean, that's your game. Play that game. Don't change it, because if you try to do too much, you're going to hurt yourself. Okay, understanding the main thing that you can tell players, and there's so many different roles on a hockey team, right? So if you understand your role and identify what you are as a hockey player, that's huge. And then you go into that camp and play that role and perfect that role, because every coach needs different role guys. Every year I have a guy or my team come in and I have a spreadsheet and I ask them, who are you as a player? I ask them that. And then they identify it and they check off certain categories. I'm like, are you an energy guy? Are you a power play guy? Are you a playmaker? Are you, a goal scorer? Yada, yada, yada. It goes down the line. And they'll check off who they are. And then that's who I know they are as a player. And then we try to develop that and maintain that. But if you go into a tryout and try to be a Swiss Army knife, it's going to hurt you. You can't do that because you can't really. It's just going to hurt you. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I'll take it one step further or one step earlier. Before you get on the ice, introduce yourself, handshake, look a coach in the eye. I think a lot gets missed from people. You go to a camp and you give the coach a wet noodle handshake. Like, he's like, geez, that kid's hand pressure is like, spaghetti, for crying out loud. Like there's stuff that goes to people who are attentive to other people. Like, hey, how are you doing today, coach? How's your day going? That people, you need to do something that somebody's going to remember you by. Okay, so when I tell my players that are going to main camps or to upper level tier 2 camps, I'm like, do something that's going to bring attention to you in a positive way. So being physical, everybody watches hockey and they see who's physical, who's not physical. Anybody who's at a hockey rink is generally has some education towards hockey. So, players aren't fooling coaching staffs or scouts by trying to dangle people. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to see that. We want to see the right hockey play made for the right situation. Yes, you might score 3 goals in the game, but you know what? The play wasn't you scoring that. It was the guy that made the great pass to the back door. Mm-hmm. That's what we look at. That's what I'll look at as the guy made the right choice, not the guy that's trying to go through everybody, because you're not going to be able to do that on a daily. You're not going to be able to play that game, right? The fastest skaters on the ice, who those guys are. The guy that has the big clap bomb, who those guys are. So, the guys who fight. How many times you go to a camp and, hey, who scored the 4th goal in that blue-red game? No idea. Who was the first 2 guys that fought? Oh, my God, the guy in the yellow jersey, he went the guy in the white jersey, and that was a great tilt. Like, they remember those things. So you have to bring attention to yourselves somehow, some way, in a positive way. So work harder, play the game the right way. And like Brad said, less is more is less.
Yeah, you have to play within your game. And if you don't, it's definitely going to hurt you, absolutely. But I mean, especially recruited guys. Like if we watch film on you and you come to camp and you try to change the way you play, like, I don't know what you're doing. But Kevin will attest to, like, even the other coach or our whole staff. I mean, we talk to the guys before camp and say, guys, play your game. Don't do too much. Play within your limits. Play within your game. That's what's going to help you make this team. If you try to do too much and try to play something else that you're not, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
I think this comes to the one main point, too, that we see as coaches every year is people don't know how to self-evaluate themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be Wayne Gretzky. Everybody wants to be the OV. Everybody wants to play power play. And it's okay not to, because every team needs penalty killers. Every team needs role players. Every team needs physicality. Like, everybody thinks that they have to be the guy that scores all the goals. No, because if you have a team of all goal scorers, who's going to get the puck?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a big thing is, too many times we talk to parents and players and they're like, oh, this coach promised me this, promised me that, promised me this. And I'm like, dude, first problem is he's promising you stuff. You can't promise that. You got to earn it. Come out and work hard, be a good person, work your nuts off, and go from there.
Yeah, I've always heard.
I got a
go ahead.
I got a follow-up question to that one. How much easy? I mean, we know how easy it is for a junior coach to sell on a player who can put up, 60, 70 points in a season. How easy is it for a junior coach to put up one of those third line centers that is more of a PK specialist? Anything along those lines? Is it as easy to sell those guys onto the college coaches, or is it a little bit more of a challenge for you guys?
No, Kev, you can jump in too, but I'll jump on that one. It's easy because even at the college level, they need those guys. They know what it takes to build a team. They know what it takes to build a team to win. So when we talked about a player, Babylon, okay, he did put up points, like Luke Babylon.
Yeah,
he did produce for us, but he was a hell of a PK guy. You know what I mean? And they needed that, and they grabbed him. Like, we talk to so many schools about what players play what role, and they come to us and say, hey, I need this. Do you have that? Like, yeah, we have that in hand. Or, you know what? We got maybe one or two guys that'll play that role. They come to us and ask what we have and what they need. And then we go from there and we build their portfolios, and then they scout them and watch them throughout the season. And if they say, yeah, I like that kid, I want him. And we go from there.
Yeah. I think that's the big key, right? Is again, Kyle, we can open the doors with the schools for a third line center or a penalty kill guy. Hey, this guy loves to eat pucks. He's a great penalty killer. He works hard. He understands the game. But there's so many kids who don't believe that that's who they are. You know what I mean? Like it's that part of it is most frustrating. It's because like they think that, oh, my buddy is playing here and, and all this. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys don't understand that every coach has a vision of his team. Okay. So Kyle might be like a guy that's got great wheels, doesn't play physical. Cameron might be the physical guy. What do I need as a coach that year in that moment is going to dictate who I take, right? I may need physicality. So I'm taking Cameron, even though Cameron's not going to put up the numbers you're going to put up. It's what does the coach see out of a player? Because sometimes you just don't fit the coach's eye. And that's just reality. It is what it is. Is it right? Is it wrong? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because
we deal with that.
Yeah.
On the yearly. We deal with that, talking with schools. We're like, well, why didn't they're talking to me too. Why didn't they take me? It's like, because they didn't want you because they didn't need that role. Yeah. They already have that role filled. And it's trying to smooth that over and then, work on the next school, because we don't just have one school with our players that are graduating. We have multiple schools that we build that portfolio for them to go to next. Things don't work out. So that's behind the scenes kind of work. But it's frustrating for some players, but they got to move on. They got to deal with it, suck it up, and move on.
Well, I think, and I've always heard this, and I've kind of dabbled, coaching, not to the level that you guys are at, quite honestly, but and for those listening, these guys have a tremendous amount of experience. So they've got I don't want to say you're long in the tooth in the coaching world, but you guys have been around this game a long time to understand the evolution of the game and how it's changed and how players can develop and get to the next level. So for those listening, take these words and run with them, because they do know what they're talking about. But I've always heard that, almost your play away from the puck is almost as important as the play with the puck. And your body position, your body language, just everything that happens away from the puck. A coach is looking for those things too.
Yeah, I think here's the things. There's certain things, working on a shot, working on getting stronger. There's things that can be fixed easily, or a little more easily than other things. Playing away from the puck is a very important skill, because it's so hard to teach people how to do that. So when a kid has that is definitely a great quality. Mm-hmm. But through video, through repetition, they can pick it up. It's just one of those things that, as coaches, every year we go through this, and it's like, when we teach our system to the new kids that have been taught other systems or haven't been taught systems at all, it's hard for them to grasp. We have a playbook that has 50 some odd things in it, Brad. Yep. That we give our kids, and like we expect them to know, hey, on the center face-off, who jumps when we lose. But this is the stuff that parents and players don't understand, or when you start getting higher up, there's more in-depth stuff that you have to process while you play, while playing against somebody who's trying to take your head off.
Yeah. I mean, to add to that, it's hockey IQ, right, fellas? I mean, I'll argue this till the cows come home. You can't teach hockey IQ. Either you have it or you don't. Okay, you can aid, to it. You can help a player get better at hockey IQ, but you can't actually say, here you go. Here's some hockey IQ for you. Now, through film, you can help them get better, but it's either in you or it isn't. Okay, mm-hmm. and playing away from the puck is by far the like, if you watch Teravainen, I think he's probably one of the smartest hockey players.
I think the three of us would agree with you.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Players in the game today, if not the smartest. Okay, and is he 6'4", 200 pounds? No. Does he get drilled? Never. Right, but he's making plays. He's having a hell of a season. But it's either in you or it isn't. And it's not something that you can just teach and make a player better. It's not there. You can help them with video, and they'll get smarter that way. If it's already there, yes. But if you don't have it, that's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Now, Brad, I know you're a player's coach from having played with you for, I think it was all of 2 games in Richmond. Kevin, never played with you. Unfortunately, haven't had the chance. But how important is, especially at the younger age levels, is it to really be a personable coach? Because these kids are, especially nowadays, they're times are changing and coaching's adapting. How have you guys had to adapt how you guys coach in order to really fit the mold of these new kids?
I got you. Today, you have to be a hybrid. I take the hybrid approach in terms of old school and new school. The days of the screamers over. That's not there anymore. Our days when we grew up, all I had was screamers, just in your face, in your grill, yelling at you, and then you just, took your lickings and just went on. Today, that doesn't exist. You'll lose the kid within 10 seconds, if not 5 seconds. You have to identify every player is different. You have to coach every player different. Not every player is the same. My schooling helped me greatly. I'm a psych major, so understanding human behavior and emotion would help me tremendously. And understanding like where are they at in their life right now? Mm-hmm. What's going on outside the game? And understanding that is absolutely imperative. Like, it's so important to know what's going on with the player outside the game, and then understand them inside the game, and then make your coaching from that. And really talk to your players. Have an open book, open conversation with them. Because if you don't, and you're going to lose them. You're not going to own the locker room. You're not going to own the sheet. You're going to have zero, attention to detail. It goes on and on and on. Like if you understand your players, you're going to have a successful roster.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, they got girlfriends, they've got, separated parents, divorced parents, death in the family. Like we are coaches, but we're counselors. We're big brothers to some of these kids like that, hey, like I tell them all the time, my guys, you can call me any time of the day, 2, 3 in the morning. Like my phone's always open. And I don't know that I'll have the right answer for you, but I'll listen. And, but at the end of the day, like Brad said, we're a hybrid because I don't care what sport I play. I'm playing to win. And if you don't want to play to win, then,
you don't play the game to tie or lose, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that. I'm definitely the, on the side of, I always preferred the coaches that were, I always preferred the screamers. Maybe that's just because what I always kind of had, but that always motivated me more than anything was, if I made a mistake, I want you to tell me that I made a mistake, and I want you to, almost embarrass me to the point where I don't want to do it again. So that definitely, drilled it home for me for sure. And then going kind of off of that point too is, when I kind of went through, the junior program as well. I played in Charlotte for a year, but we had a lot of guys, and I saw this from the previous organization, the Eagles as well. They had a lot of guys that were not necessarily from the area. I mean, they kind of shipped a lot of guys in just to build the program. Have you seen a shift in that over, the past, 6-7 years where you're seeing more and more just, kind of a tip of the hat to the program, the youth program in the area, where you're seeing more of those youth program kids come up and actually get recruited for you guys? Or are you still, having a lot of guys come in from outside kind of the youth organizations in the area?
Yeah. I mean, it's at the elite level, it's a lot of our youth guys. Okay. Yeah. And then the premier level, it's our youth guys that get promoted to premier, and then we have to recruit premier. That's just how it always has been, and it's how it is. But recently and over the years, we've had a hell of a lot more local players play youth or play elite, and then actually maintain and progress to the premier level. And then between the two rosters, we have a hell of a lot of youth players within the area on both rosters, and it's getting more and more each year, which is really, really great, especially this year. You can look at the rosters. There's a lot of youth here, a lot of local guys. But I mean, every program has to recruit outside for premier, especially with 2 teams. You got a roster. What we only do 26. You could get up to 30, which I think is ridiculous. But I don't know how you develop a player that way, but the league does it. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah. So to answer your question, over the past few years, the players that we've had in their youth that have climbed from elite to premier has gotten a lot better.
All right, guys. Well, we really, I think we're going to wrap on that one. We really, really do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your schedule to sit with us and talk, and hopefully we've offered some level of education to the young player that may happen to stumble across this podcast. And I think that's our main goal is not to make millions of dollars doing anything like this, but at the end of the day is to educate the player through the eyes of professionals that do this for a living. Yeah. And making sure they understand that, though mom and dad drive me back and forth to the rink and pay for all my stuff, sometimes the score doesn't matter and the development takes over. And I think we're trying to make sure kids understand that, the score, you win or you lost, the game isn't really decided on whether you win or lost. It is, I guess it's good to win. Don't get me wrong. But at a younger age is did I play well? And did I make a difference? And did I get better from one game to the next? Because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think you guys can probably agree that, the younger age is should be less time spent looking at the scoreboard and how many goals I got versus how I played.
Yeah, I think another big key. First of all, you guys, thanks for having me. And this is very important because there are people out there that want answers to several questions and stuff. But I think when you're a young player growing up and wanting to play hockey, I think obviously doing your part as far as skill set, training, skating, shooting pucks, like putting in some work away from the rink. But also I think I don't want to say that you have to be one sport dimensional. You play some other sports, like, because soccer is good for footwork, which footwork is great for hockey. Do I like soccer? Not a chance. But I wouldn't play it. But softball, baseball.
I miss the ball with my left foot if I had to kick it.
Yeah. So I think that parents, like, everybody wants to go and play. But where do you get better? It's actually practice.
Yeah.
It's not. Everybody loves to play games, but if you don't practice, you're never going to get better. You're never going to get good enough. Now, there's one-off moments or kids that are, wow, they're unbelievable, but this is less than 1% of all kids, so, put some work in, power skating, edge work, because if you can skate, you can play. And that's where the game's going nowadays. So, put a lot of your emphasis into that, being stronger, being quicker, you go from there.
Yeah, and to add on to that, there's a lot of parents, those that are listening. I mean, a lot of parents sit back, especially when their son or daughter are 17, 18, 16, 17, 18. They're like, where do we go? Like, when do we go to junior? Do we go to junior? When do we go to prep? Do we go to prep? Things of that. So there's a lot of questions like, what type of player am I? So again, we go back to self-identification, who you are. And if there's a prep question, where are you academically? Okay. If you need help with school, I'd go prep. If you don't need help with school, you can try junior, and then take that path. Okay. Because I think the prep is more hands-on. It helps you, focus more on the schooling part of it. And then they, play the game they love, play some hockey that way. But then there's the question of, do I go U18 AAA? Like, there's so many questions that these parents are going to have when it comes to the junior side of it, right? Like, when do we go to junior? Do we go to junior?
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on that question we said earlier, like identifying who you are as a player, what fits you. Personally, if you go to a top 15, maybe top 20 U18 AAA, I tell you to go. We've lost players because that's a hell of a program. You're going to get noticed, and if it doesn't work out, try junior. If it's not that top 20, then go junior route. There's all those little aspects too that we haven't even touched, but those are a lot of questions that are main questions for parents.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between youth and junior. Junior's almost every day of the week. Like, it's a commitment, and so if you're talking about being committed and you're a true hockey player and you want to put the work in, you want to be in the gym every day, because you have to sacrifice at junior. Youth, it's 3 days a week. Junior, it's 5-6 days a week. We as junior team, we have Mondays off, but every other day we're either playing or training or practicing, so it's definitely a commitment, and it's not for everybody. And of course it's pay to play too, which is, always another element, right? And some people don't want to pay that money, and I get that, but where we try to explain to parents, which is a whole nother can of worms, is that, yes, you're paying for us to help you get yourself to school, but where you're going to make your money back is by us getting you to schools and getting you a discount on tuition or books or, housing and all that stuff. So you're actually going to save money, down the road. Like, we have a few guys like Luke Babylon we were talking about earlier. He went to King's College in Pennsylvania. It's a $48,000 school, and he's paying, I think, $17,000 or $18,000. So over 4 years, we're saving the family $120,000.
Sure. Yeah.
And his was, also what helped him is academics. He's a very brilliant kid, so he got an academic scholarship too. But down the line, yeah, we help our players in that respect.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I think. Growing, I mean, I wish I had some wisdom, when these two knuckleheads were growing up, and they kind of guide us down the path a little bit. But I think it's finding somebody you trust from a coach's perspective that they're not just blowing smoke. I think that's the one thing that I think is the hardest thing for a parent, because some parents that don't understand hockey, they don't understand it. So I understood it. And I didn't even know it sometimes, what was going on sometimes. So finding a group of coaches that you trust, and here's the biggest thing: they do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they don't promise you something. I think, Kevin, you mentioned earlier, if a coach is promising you something, he's lying to you.
Yeah.
So
go the opposite way.
Yeah.
And that's, Paul, just to kick on that, like, we've lost so many players recruiting because of, how honest we are. Kevin and I were like, I don't think we got that guy. Or we land that guy. But at least at the end of the day, we can look in the mirror and understand that our program is honest. And that's by far one of the things that we recruit with, and say, listen, we're going to tell you you don't want to hear, but we're also going to tell you what you want to hear in terms of what you're good at. But I'm not going to lie to you. You got to earn it, like we always say.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, we do really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule for us, and this will put a wrap on, I guess, episode 1 of Hometown Hockey Roundtable, and we'll hopefully get you guys back on again to see how the season ends, and also along the way, we'd like to talk to players if we could, just to get their perspective on the programs, to help educate the younger guys that are coming up, saying, coaches said this, but the players are saying the same thing. So, they're telling you the straight and narrow. So listen to these guys; they know what they're talking about.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah, it's very important, Paul, too. Like, because that's the other thing you might want to do is have some parents on.
Exactly.
Because,
absolutely.
They'll have that aspect too. Because when we recruit somebody from California and they want to know about our billet program, here. We'll let you talk to a billet. We'll let you talk to players from California who have sent their kids here, or Canadian kids from Canada, or from Ukraine. We've had them from everywhere. So I think it's good, like you said, to have the players come on, have parents come on, have billets come on, like all of it. I mean,
for sure.
We're wide open for that. That's our goal. That's our main mission.
Well, we can set that up for sure. That would be awesome, because they'll attest to what we're saying and what we're doing here in Carolina. So,
well, and
absolutely.
And the bigger part, guys, honestly, if we can get people to recognize that we are here in Carolina and we aren't youth, we are actually junior, we would start getting some more people out. We have a 1,500 seat arena that would love to have 500-600 people in every night for games. So the way we're going to do it is by doing these things and making people aware of, hey, we're not youth hockey. We're not, the junior Hurricanes from the NHL side of things. We're the junior team in Carolina, and I think that's a big thing. A lot of people don't recognize that. And, we need to get that out. We need to get, some attention and some love from the big team, because we see them every day and we talk to them, but help us out, throw us a couple hundred.
No, for sure. Got it. So, all right, guys. Well, for Kyle, Cam, and Kevin and Brad, I'm the old man. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, Cameron, Kyle, Paul, thanks so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it a lot.
You're
Rock
welcome.
on.
See you guys.